Welcome to Behind the Title, where leaders show up differently. Today I'm joined by Michael Smith. Michael and I bonded a couple of years ago when I shared my candid and honest story around addiction and alcoholism. Michael's also experienced similar struggles and today joins to tell us about how he's overcome those and what methods and steps that he's taken in order to become a better person and be more supportive of those that are struggling with addiction and mental health.
When you brought this up and asked me to be, if I would look, that you're doing this and so if something I'd be interested in doing, I jumped at the chance. Absolutely, I would bite your arm off for this because, it's an opportunity to basically share my experiences with other people, to kind of help one person, hopefully, to make sure that, to let them know that they're not alone. When I was deep in alcoholism, addiction, whatever you want to call it, I felt so alone. I felt so isolated. I felt like literally nothing, no one could help me and it was never going to get better. And talking about that and being able to share those kind of places, because there are people today in exactly that space. And I want to make people aware that they're not alone. There is support, there is help. It's 3 words. I need help. That's it.
Michael, welcome. It's great to have you here. Michael Smith, everyone. Go check him out. So great to have you here. Thank you for coming on. We've obviously known each other for a couple of years, and actually, slightly by chance, I shared my story about overcoming some challenges with mental health and addiction and alcoholism, and we connected. Post that. So it's great to have you here. I guess for the people that have not met you before, maybe just give a bit of an intro to yourself and why it was important to come and share your story on here.
Yeah, well, thank you, Danny. Yeah, it's good to be here. So Michael Smith. I am. We talk about companies. I'm at a company currently called Camp House. But we did meet by chance a few years ago. Your story came up in LinkedIn. It came up on my LinkedIn feed, and it resonated. With guys who we have very, very similar kind of paths we'd taken. And then, I think we messaged each other once or twice on LinkedIn, and that was kind of it, really, because I'm busy and everything else. Yeah. And then I think fast forward about a year, I went to a meeting and I'm sitting there. This guy is sitting in the meeting. I recognise him. And it was you. It was weird that we'd connected on LinkedIn, but we actually live in a very similar area. Our paths should have crossed, and they did. Yeah. And I think from then we became friends. Yeah. We meet up, we talk, and you've been a great person for me to talk to and ask advice from.
Likewise.
In the past, and I'm sure in the future forevermore. When I suffer and still suffer, but I'm in recovery from addiction, from both drugs and alcohol. And when I was in basically my darkest areas, my darkest places, I felt so isolated, felt so alone. And I thought it was only me that felt like that. It was only me. If you were like me, you would drink like me. If you had my life, you would take drugs like me. And what I found out very, very quickly is I'm not that unique, I'm not that different to other people. I'd go to meetings and I'd hear other people who'd walked exactly the same path, like reading your LinkedIn profile. So for me, why I wanted to be here is to kind of share my story, to make people aware that they're not alone, they're not on their own, and there is a better way. And if what was given to me, it was given to me freely. For me to come and sit here with you, to give away what was given to me is me repaying what was given to me, really.
I found this process really cathartic, just helping, other people, I guess, share their stories. And we had someone on the other day who I won't reveal too much about their story, but they were in remission, for cancer, and they said something just incredibly heartwarming, which, full transparency, it made me, well up, which was they'd never got to ring the bell for cancer because they're still kind of, going through treatment. And they said that being on this podcast felt like them ringing the cancer bell. And I was touched by that comment, just because I didn't realize the effect someone just sharing, a stranger, someone just sharing what's going on for them, but yet weirdly so close to home when I share with another stranger like we have. Yeah. It's so powerful. To me, this is not a recording a podcast. This is two pals having a chat about life. So it's great to have you on here. And I think there's not enough people that talk about this. And that's what Behind the Title is all about, is leaders showing up differently. And I am, and I think others will be eternally grateful for people like you coming on to talk about this stuff. So again, thank you. If you cast your mind back to when you were perhaps in that madness and then, the moment that changed for you, we talk about the backstage pass. Was there a specific time or occasion in which you looked fine on the outside? Externally, everyone was, complimentary and things were good, but on the inside, you were crumbling. Things were just falling apart bit by bit.
Oh, yeah. I think quite for the last 3 years of my alcoholism and my drug taking, that was daily life for me. I put this facade up that everything was great, everything was good, I was amazing, but inside I was completely broken. I was a functioning alcoholic, was the word that we used, but the only thing I could function, the way I kind of measured that success of being a functioning alcoholic was that I got to work at 9 o'clock. My bum was on the desk at 9 a.m. That was a win. Irrespective of what time I'd gone to bed or whatever, that was kind of complete win to me. I was fortunate in, the roles that I'd taken and the job that I did, that I was okay at selling. I was okay at getting deals in, and over my past, I've got a few big deals in. And trust me, I lived off of those deals for a lot longer than I probably should have. I'd always kind of reminisce about that deal or this deal or being the first or whatever. But that carried me through. So people thought I was great. Still, well, I thought people thought I was great. A lot fast forward into recovery, and what I thought people thought of me was completely different to what people thought of me. But we'll get into that probably later. But yeah, that was there's no one single moment where things were going great. But like, as soon as I go through the doors of a home, it'd be different to how I was. I was two different people. At work, bravado, facade. At home, apologetic. I'm never going to do it again. I'm sorry. Yeah, so it's a weird one. I think there's the realization that I couldn't do it anymore was was in a hotel room in Munich at Oktoberfest. I've just done de Mexico. It was a year of a number of events. My 40th birthday, de Mexico. I think I went to Taipei that year, and Festival of Media, Barcelona, Mobile World Congress, CX. I had a good...
That's an itinerary.
Yeah, that was... And then I had family holidays in between that as well. I had a good year, busy year. I spent 28 weeks of that year out of the country. And every single one of those events, I actually pulled a sickie. Vegas, Rome, wherever, because I'd done everything to excess, and I was supposed to show up for work, and I showed up for me. But look, fast forward to the end of September, to mid-September, September 17th, 18th, woke up in a hotel room in Munich, and I woke up still dressed in full lederhosen.
Laugh about these things now.
You can, literally. It was just, I thought I was blind in one eye because I'd fallen asleep on a calzone pizza and the cheese had stuck my eye together. So I actually thought I'd lost the sight in one eye for a second. I kind of prized the melted cheese dried off my face. Already I'm painting a really pretty picture.
Of all the sound bites that we're going to get across this series, that's just made me laugh.
And I looked at the person that was staring at me in the mirror, and I hated what was looking back at me. You know, I despised myself, hated myself, and weirdly something broke. I broke, you know, and it was a case of I couldn't do it anymore. I knew it had stopped being fun 2 years ago, at least. 2 years before that, at least. But the power of choice was taken away from me way before then. And I don't know if I've actually answered your question, but that's kind of the realisation when I knew that shit weren't well, that things wasn't going well. And no matter how much bravado, facade that I put up, I couldn't hide how I was feeling, how broken I felt, how isolated I felt, how alone I felt anymore.
You've more than answered. You've actually answered the second question I had. So it was a physical moment, standing in front of the mirror, just realising this can't continue.
It can't and won't continue. There was a finality. Now, how, where that was taken, I didn't know where the roads were left to there.
And was this something within the family life or in the work life that you were exhibiting? I.e., did you ever get called out within the workplace for excess, or were people from your family saying, "Michael, it's enough now. Time to calm down"?
So did it get called out of work? Every single company that I worked for the previous 5 or 6 years, I was probably going to be asked to leave. You know, I was put on a PIP with a company, not because of my performance, because I literally, if it was down to numbers on a bit of paper, in some places they would keep you on. In this place, which didn't accept that, and no matter what numbers I was doing, I wasn't being socially acceptable. You know, I was being maybe inappropriate in things I would say, or some of the behaviours I would have being too laddish or whatever. But yeah, that was them. But at home, it'd been a constant. You know, it'd been like literally having my sister-in-law phone me to tell me, because my wife was at her wit's end about it all. My mum phoned me, my mother-in-law phoned me, my dad, obviously since passed, but would phone me. You know, literally my wife. And let's be honest, when I was deep in addiction, I had a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old at that age. And that's when I was, you know, they were an inconvenience. You know, my wife was at home. My amazing wife, by the way, she was at home looking after these 2 kids. And I thought it was my God-given right to just basically spend every penny we had and money we didn't have. Borrow, you know, and with no thought or whatever for them, no thought for them. I worked, I was the breadwinner. And that was what, you know, I thought it was right. Am I right?
It's interesting because obviously we have learned stuff about ourselves, and we've learned fundamentally that, you know, we have an illness.
Yeah.
That is very hard to treat through, I guess, the medicinal variety, right? It requires something deep-rooted, you know, spiritual, fundamental behavior change. And so when you talk about that stuff there, I can't envisage it, because what I see in front of me and when we speak is someone that deeply cares for other people now, supports others, you know, through their challenges. And look, you know, here today, bearing all of which, you know, is a massive, you know, a massive testament to you wanting to give away, as you say, what was freely given to you. Are there certain, and it might still come up now, are there certain triggers in your life, be that personal or professional, that push you to act or behave either past tense in a certain way or present tense? And that could be in the workplace or it could be at home. Are there certain triggers, whether it's, you know, behavioral or seasonal, or, you know, what makes Michael behave, or what made Michael behave that way?
Triggers I had before were simple. Is that if the day ended in a Y, that was a good idea. You know, that was, for me, it was, every day was a good day. If it was a bad day, I'd drink. If it was a good day, I would drink. If it was whatever day, I would drink. If it ended in a Y, basically, I'd drink or take drugs. So I didn't really have triggers per se in that respect. I do see when I need to work on myself today through certain things that happen. And a good example is, if I've got a lot going on, I can quickly kind of, I displayed it earlier on before we actually started talking. You know, I'm working on this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm working on this, I'm doing, I'm. Well, actually, I'm a part of each one of those processes. But I quickly, someone told me this in a cafe a couple of weeks ago, I don't know who that was. I'm quick to realise that it's not just me, it's not just I am, and actually, and that when I talk about those triggers, that makes me go in myself, and I think, and I can't think of the other parts of it. And, you know, so for me, those kind of triggers help me to, I have to take a step back, have a little think about what I'm, how I'm, you know, I can do everything that is in front of me, might not necessarily do it in the time span that I want to do it in, i.e. yesterday, but that's okay. As long as I communicate and talk and, you know, don't overpromise, I can get all of these things done.
Yeah, there's a theme with a lot of the guests that we've had. High performers, leaders, all overachievers, completely at one stage in their life, maybe obsessed, you know, with achieving that success. Yeah. And it's resulted in, you know, bad behaviors and triggering them to do certain things, or there are certain triggers that lead them to certain behaviors. Yeah. So I think that what we want to be able to do with Behind the Title is demonstrate to people that leaders struggle as well. It's not, you know, it's not a bed of roses. That's not suggesting that you need it to get like that. I think that's the key point, is that I wouldn't even necessarily say that I'm a role model. I'm sure that you probably wouldn't say about yourself as well. Certainly not my behaviours, because I don't think that's needed. I think everyone needs to chart their own path. Was there a time then, you know, and it might have been in relation to your behaviour. Yeah. But it could have been in the workplace with other people. Was there a time when you wish you'd said something to someone, or, you know, was there a moment where you wish you said to yourself, enough is enough? You know, were there warning signs before you got to that mirror moment?
There was oh God. Yeah, there was a number of moments, both personal and in work. You know, personal, you know, if we want to call like rock bottoms, you know, 10 years before that mirror moment, which I quite like, they call it the mirror moment now. There was something at home where literally I had in one arm my son, who was 6 months old, or 8 months old, whatever, and the other hand, drugs. I said it really quickly, and I chose them over him. That should have been a really telling moment for me. It slowed me down for 18 months, but after that I was back up to pace. Work-wise, every single moment that I've told you about with regards to HR or whatever, they were all really stand out, probably gross misconduct, fireable, times I could have been let go. Every one of those was a possible learning opportunity or a time for change. But, I'll be different next time. I'll be good. It won't happen again, which often it did. So, yeah, I could literally pinpoint 6 to 8 different times in my working life when I could have said, I'm broken. I'm not happy. I need help. But instead, I blamed everybody else. It's your fault. Or if you would have done this, or I'm blaming it on whatever. I'd never looked at myself. But ultimately, that's those 3 words, I need help. I never, I saw counselling. Me and my wife saw marriage counselling at that time, probably about 12, 13 years ago. And nothing to do with, I did completely ignored the drink and drugs. It was just we wasn't getting on. But if I actually look at why I wasn't getting on, it's because I wasn't coming home. I'd tell her I'd be leaving at 5 o'clock or 5:30. 5:31, my phone would ring. And I'd know it'd be her. And then I'd probably have 50 to 80 missed calls that night because I said I was going home. And I was just broken. That power of choice had been taken. But yeah, going back full circle though, the realisation is when I broke, what I didn't realise, and I'm super thankful today, is that my wife, who is, and I've said already, amazing, she's an absolute rock star, was literally 2 weeks away from throwing a towel in on us. Didn't know that at the time. So I don't know why I broke at the time I broke, but it was the best time to break. I preferred it probably 10 years sooner, but hey, can't unring that bell. But yeah, it's love.
I'm fascinated with this space in the workplace today because I think we're in a very different era to where we were 10, 15, 20 years ago. And actually generations, or different generations are now making conscious choices to not overindulge in substances, be that alcohol or other mind-altering chemicals. How easy is it, do you think, to live life today as a younger person in the world of media, communications, advertising, and not feel the need to have a drink?
I think that generationally it's changed with regards to what was deemed acceptable when I was kicking around at 18. I don't really want to think how many years ago it was now, but quite a few, to what it is today. And I look at my son for that as that kind of benchmark. So, he drinks maybe 3 or 4 times a year. He looks after himself. He's, so it's very different in that respect. But I think there's more, especially with social media. There's more outlets for advocacy for positive, for healthy lives and things like that. part of talking about giving away freely and stuff like that is, and I'm super happy and open to talk about my, what I've done, where I've been, where I am today.
Here.
I'm here today. And I found talking openly about it, talking about there is a solution for want of better. There is help. There is support. I can tell you that people, because I've been super open about how I am, my relationship with alcohol, how it was, what it is today. Now, today, don't drink. Today, I've chosen not to drink. And they've asked me questions like, what did I do? And I've taken some people to their first meetings and things like that, which is awesome. But off the back of that, I also... we also set up another little group. I'm going to give it a little bit of a plug.
No, please do.
So me and an amazing woman called Julia Smith. She's not Julia Smith anymore. I apologise. Julia, we set up Spill, which is sober people, industry lads and ladies. So we're a WhatsApp ad tech group of people who can't or won't drink. And we just kind of offer each other support as a support network across ad tech. So in Cannes, we had Spill in Cannes. Madfest. It actually started off at Madfest. And that's why Madfest have
That's incredible.
A dry bar at Madfest now. Because of, not mine, I'm not going to take any credit for this. Julia was like, look, we're adults. Why can't we have adult drinks as well, just without alcohol? So yeah, there's a lot more talk around. There's a lot more. It's a lot more accepting to like not drink. Beforehand, it was you're either driving or you're pregnant. They're the only two reasons you could use why you wasn't drinking. And one was male, particularly you're driving if you're a man and you're pregnant if you're a woman, it was just, but today it's a lot more accepting. Personally, I'm very basic. I like Diet Coke and sparkling water, but other people like the alcohol.
Do you think we're missing something in the workplace? Because I think, the subject of alcoholism and addiction is still quite prevalent. We see it, day in, day out. I'm a firm believer that if you can help educate people when they're younger, then you've got a better chance. But the education that I got in school was, I think, one, the wrong timing, but also I'm not sure that it was by an educator who was talking about, what to watch out for and things to look at, as opposed to someone coming and sharing a lived experience. Do you think there's something in the workplace that we could or should be doing to encourage better education, and that there's support there if you need it?
Yeah, I think there is definitely need for it. I think that it's a fine line between and it says how it's delivered. Because I think if when taking it back to someone told me don't drink, you can't drink, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to prove different. I think there's a way of delivering it. I think what the answer is, I don't know. But there is, it just needs to be more open, like with everything with everything that's spoken about, and support. It's like when you join a new company, let's just say onboarding. Onboarding, let's go through what's a part of the onboarding process. What resources are available to you as an employee as that. Now you'll get here is the the intranet site, which is probably not even called that anymore. It's showing my age. But here is your onboarding documentation. Here is the support. Here is your benefits. Here is whatever. I think there's a good space for kind of here's your gym membership opportunity, here's your cycle to work scheme, here is your support, advice kind of options, something there I think is great. But equally, I was talking to a woman who works at another advertising agency. And again, we were sitting down after a meeting, having a debrief about a client. And because I am super open about what I talk about, she's like, will you come to my agency and talk about what you've just talked to me about? That needs to happen more. I think, having those kind of lunch and learns, but not just having a vendor coming in and talking about that, and like the wellness kind of side of things, not just having, that's, I just think it just needs to be part of the society
normalized.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the better word for it. It just needs to be normalized.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, a lot of those areas are covered off in inductions. An experience that I had maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I actually through our wellbeing team, tried to create a space that was not dissimilar to the spaces that we go outside, of an evening or a weekend or a morning to.
Yeah.
We had a room that was I did we call it like masked. It was like you couldn't see who or what was in there.
Yeah.
And we sat in there for 4 weeks for an hour each time, and no one turned up. And what I learned from that exercise was people are uncomfortable with sharing what's going on with them in the workplace. Also, maybe it wasn't the right environment. But that's what, Behind the Title is all about.
Yep.
I think it's giving a platform and a forum to stories like yours to show people that you don't need to suffer in silence. You don't need to get to that stage. In fact, there are many people that you'll either work with, or not. Case in point here, we met just by you seeing something online, and we have a great friendship now, and I think that's what for me it's all about. Is I want to see more people come and share their story. Yeah, because the minute that people see it normalized, to know that everyone struggles, you can't and shouldn't be held back or penalized in the workplace because of that. Yeah. There is a reality. The corporate world is the corporate world, right? And if you're in a role and perhaps you're distant for a little while because you're dealing with personal challenges, then the world moves on. It doesn't just stop. Yeah. But I think the encouragement of people like you coming on today, I think is so important. Do you think there's and we talk about it quite a lot. We talk about the permission slip. Yeah. We briefly exchanged on this. If you could give permission to others to feel, say, do, or perhaps even stop, in their life today in the workplace, what would that be? I think I know what the answer would be, but what permission slip would you give to others that might be in a similar position that you were in?
So now you got me thinking. You said you think you know the answer to the question. So now all I'm thinking is, what is your answer to the question? Because I'm thinking, do I want to give the wrong answer, or what answer should I give? Or do I give?
I probably shouldn't have prefaced it.
You probably shouldn't have, but now you have. So what would you think my answer would be?
Reach out for help.
Yeah.
Speak up. Don't suffer in silence.
Which is I think it's all of them, but it's kind of to make him more aware that. Not being rude, but you're not unique. You're not the only person that feels that way. And I can tell you now, by getting the permission, gaining the permission to talk about it, does free you, does make you feel a lot more open and free. In recovery, I've faced as much adversity as I have outside of it when I was drinking, but being able to approach it how I've done sober has been fulfilling, rewarding, super sad. I lost my dad 4 years ago to lung cancer. And I was the black sheep of the family, but because of having this permission, being open, to talk about it, I went from that black sheep to the person he called upon. I'm one of 8. Called upon. Yeah, massive. A lot of power cuts, no television. They had to pass time somehow. To be the person that took him to hospital, for all his checkups, for his scans. To be the person he asked to read his eulogy at his funeral. It blew my mind that, by admitting shit had gone downhill, by facing up to what I needed to fix, and I couldn't fix it alone. I fixed it with support and help. It took me to that place where I had 0 regrets when I said my farewells to my dad. I still speak to him every day. I have a pot of ashes on my desk at home. I have him built into a painting in my living room. And that's because of having permission, giving permission to speak freely how I feel. You're not alone. We're not unique. We really aren't. People have walked in the same path that we've walked in, although we think we're the only people. I think that's probably the permission I would give. But also, on a personal permission, you have my permission to find me on LinkedIn and drop me a message.
That's lovely.
And say, hey, I'm happy to talk about this. It was shit, it got good, and what I did in between. So you have full permission to message me as well.
That's lovely. Do you, before we close out, do you still struggle with thoughts of wanting to have a drink? And if so, how do you manage that day to day? Because as you said, there's stuff that comes up.
Yeah. So I don't have a drinking problem. I've got a thinking problem, right? And I still have that today. I still obsess about everything, like I did obsess about drinking drugs. I obsess about cycling today. Michael Smith on TikTok, find me. It's awesome. But, I've got tools to help me, to ground me. Fortunately, and I'm super, super, super lucky, the need to drink or take drugs today and for the past nearly 8 years has left me, and I'm...
Well done.
Thank you. So I'm really fortunate in that respect, but I still have those massive... I still think this. Having a drink, taking a drug was to change the way I feel. I still want to change the way I feel with other things, shopping, cycling, content, whatever it might be. I want to do, but I need to be aware. So I one of the things I do use, and funny enough, I was on a bike ride with a friend of mine on Saturday called Gren, and he was talking about something that he has no control over. So I talked him through the Serenity Prayer. And I said, that's what I use when I can't control something, when I want to control something that I can't control, when I want to fix something that I can't fix. And I use the Serenity Prayer.
Do you want to just for people that may not know what the Serenity Prayer is, do you want to just say it?
So the Serenity Prayer...
Or explain it.
Yeah, no, so basically it's grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So in short... let go of the stuff you've got zero control over. Focus on the stuff that you can control and understand the difference between the two. That's literally, where I use that the most is flying, because I hate flying. And if turbulence kick in, that for me, I've got no control over. But so I use the Serenity Prayer on that. That's probably one of the things I use. The other is that I'm super fortunate to have people like you in my life. People like you that I can phone up and say, you know what, Danny, shit's gone a bit wonky. And more often than not, as soon as I've picked up that phone or I put that phone down, actually, no, even when that phone is ringing, before you've even answered or whoever's answered the phone, my problem is probably reduced by 5%, and my obsession for something has reduced by 5%. And by the time I get off that call with you or somebody else, it's no longer a problem. I'm not obsessing about it. I've realised, I was a little bit of a dick thinking that way, because my focus went to one thing. But that support is huge. I'm super grateful, super grateful of the smaller things in life, the littler things in life, the simpler things, the free things in life. I'm super grateful that I have, my kids are healthy. I'm super grateful that I have a roof over my head, I have water in the tap. That's what I'm grateful about today. I'm grateful that I've had another day where I haven't taken a drink. Little things, nothing that you can't put a number or monetary value to any of those things I've just said. And I'd say that, and it is part of that, my AA recovery. It's what I do as I put my head on the pillow every night. I don't write it down like some people do, but I go through what I'm grateful for. And it really does put me to sleep in a better place than feeling about stress, worry, and anxiety.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today and being so honest and so candid. Remind me, it's the initiative with Sober.
Oh, so Spill. So yeah, sober people, industry lads and ladies. Look, just reach out to me. We're a WhatsApp group. We're a support. We're a community. There's 120, 150 of us.
Amazing.
Which just bored from a conversation at Madfest.
Amazing.
And, you know, it grew from there. So Spill is a big part of my life. And yes, it's a great little.
I'm still yet to be invited, just to be clear.
Oh my God, I think
still yet to be invited.
Okay,
don't worry, it's fine.
I'll rectify that.
But if you want to, guys, if you want to find out more about Spill, reach out to Michael Smith.
Yep.
Equally, if you just want to have a chat around stuff that's going on in your head, or you have family that might be affected, I'm sure Michael, and certainly I, would be happy to talk to you. Again, thank you so much for your candid honesty today. We need more people like you that are willing to show that it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
And not to suffer in silence. So appreciate you coming on. I know you've got to get off to Madfest, so I'll let you go. And listeners, can't wait to play the next episode to you when we record it.